Okay, that's the video. I think the thumbnail says it all. Okay, you want context? You want to know why I say buy this game? Now, I should clarify, I guess. Listen, the game I'm talking about, obviously, is Cristales. Buy it. Just buy. If you don't already own it and you like RPGs, then buy this game. This game is awesome. And the thing is, it's $7.99, and I think you have about 3 to 4 days, according to the eShop. I mean, this is a $40 game, and I'll be honest, it's worth every penny of $40. It's about 30 to 40 hours, and it's incredibly fun. It's got some very interesting mechanics that have to do with time magic, where you can use time magic to help you, and not in the same way that every other game does, with like haste or slow or any of that. No, what the classic, reference is in this game, and it's the first one you run into, is you'll come across an enemy who's incredibly hard to penetrate their armor. They have this like gigantic shield that just doesn't matter what you do, you can't do anything to break through their defense. So, one of your new allies who shows up happens to have water magic. Well, you use the water magic, which gives them soak, and then you speed up time, causing the shield to rust, and thus breaking their defense. But it's not just time magic about this game that makes it so awesome. This game, for me, has an incredibly cool art style that once you get used to it, and maybe some people just jump right into it and love it. It took me a little bit of time before I really got the idea, before it just soaked into me. But I love the art style. I think it was perfect, especially on the Nintendo Switch, because it doesn't look bad at all in comparison to the original release. In fact, it looks really good, and you really start to expect and admire that art style. But it's not just about the art style either. Like I said, it's got the time mechanics, which is such an interesting fact. You can use this for different puzzles that you solve, or just in-game combat. But at the same time, it also has this incredibly cool traditional feel to it. It's a turn-based RPG where you basically go from town to town, and you talk to the locals. They talk about a horrible creature that's ruining their lives, or a problem that needs to be solved. You go around, you collect clues, you go to maybe a dungeon, you fight the big monster, you solve people's problems, you do some side quests, you're able to buy new equipment. It's got all of that like classic traditional RPG feel, but with just a few little tweaks, and it really feels like a more modern version of those traditional classic games. It's also in that same vein because this game actually allows you to have a gigantic party, and it really doesn't feel that way at the beginning of it. It really just feels like it's Chrisbel and her frog friend and maybe a couple other friends, but it doesn't really feel like it's going to expand into this like gigantic team that you can build. By the end of this game, I was so drawn into the story, I was so interested in how everything plays out, that I easily sunk a good 50 hours into this. And I can tell you this, as somebody who has beat the game, and by the way, I do have a full review, like a review on our channel, so you just have to check it out. But I'm fairly certain, like, I would be shocked if it doesn't get a sequel. So, I mean, ultimately, there is, like, no reason not to get this game. It's incredibly fun. You are getting your dollar's worth with this game. It's, like I said, incredibly long as well. It's got a lot of amazing story elements. The customization that we all love in these games. It is one of the best RPGs on the Nintendo Switch. And yeah, probably a little bit more JRPG, but not as JRPG. It's a very clever game. It really does meld a lot of different worlds. Like, it does have the JRPG feel at times, but it also has kind of like the traditional RPG. It has the time mechanics where there is more stuff to do in the open world, and yet at the same time, much of what you have to do is in the combat mode. So, yeah, just get the game. You want a few more sales, I'll give them to you. I got a couple that I think are perfect, and one of them happens to be Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. If you, for some reason, don't have this game, it's only $4.94 right now on the eShop. I would definitely grab that. Even if you're not a big fan of beat-em-ups, I don't know, there's something just incredibly charming about the characters in this game, and I loved the movie, so it made me actually want to play the game. It does get really difficult, but it's also really fun. And lastly, I'll tell you what I picked up, which I probably will do a little little bit of review on these games. But first off, I got Darkest Dungeon. I've been interested in this game for quite a while. It looks really cool. It's a turn-based RPG, but with a mechanic where you start to get over paranoid and almost psychotic in a sense, like as the stress of the dungeon gets to your main character. I don't know. I haven't even booted up the game yet, but it was $6.24. I can't pass that up, right? Like, who does that? I also picked up Blasphemous because this is a game that I have seen, I have played on a few other platforms, but not very far into it. Like, I always found some reason to stop playing it, and I knew that I would actually beat it on the Nintendo Switch. Well, it so happens that it also probably has a sequel coming out this year, so I definitely wanted to pick it up. I figured now would be the perfect time, and it's $6.24, just like the other one, so again, can't say no to that. I also picked up the DLC for Nobody Saves the World. I absolutely love Nobody Saves the World. It's one of those games that I put really high up on a pedestal, and let's just say that the best indies of the year is coming out soon, and there's a place for Nobody Saves the World. Well, a few months, maybe 4 or 5 months after the game released, they actually released DLC for it, and I just been meaning to get to it and just haven't. But again, it was like $4.74, something of that nature, so I picked it up. But if you haven't played the game or you don't have any of it, right now the bundle for the game and the DLC is like $19.99. Now that's a bit more pricey than normal, but it's worth it. Like, let me tell you, I love that game. I spent so much time playing it. It's a fun, great game. Well worth $20 for all of that. Little Nightmares 1 and 2, the bundle is like $14.99, which is a really great price on that. Then you have Diablo 2, which is like $13 something. It's really cheap. And Farm Simulator is actually a pretty fun game, especially for $1.99. And same with The Suicide of Rachel somebody. I don't know. You look it up, you'll find it. But those are the games that I've seen recently that it's like, oh, it's a really good deal. Oh, and Risk of Rain 2 is also $6.24, down from like $24.99. I really just added these other games at the end because they're just ones I've been looking at. But definitely, if there's one thing I can advise you to do, and I don't like spending other people's money besides my wife's, but I have to suggest getting Cristales, especially if you're an RPG fan. Like, if you like RPGs and you don't buy Cristales now, then you probably just shouldn't ever buy it. Like, there is gonna be no cheaper price, I can imagine, for this game, because it's just really good. I can't believe it's this cheap. Anyway, guys, like always, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy, because you make me happy. Take care, everyone. Love you.